Welcome to Led Zeppelin Part 3. Great
Led
episode
Zeppelin
for you
Part 3.
today. Can't believe we're diving back into Led Zeppelin already.
We're doing Greta Van Fleet today, you fuck.
Might as well be Led Zeppelin Part 3, dude. Do you want to do that now or later?
No, let's just get into it. It's interesting because I remember the first time I heard these guys, it was obviously that first double EP from the Fires, right? And I heard them on the radio, and I didn't know the song at all. And I remember saying either to myself or somebody else, like, damn, I've never heard the Zeppelin song. I think it was Highway Tune.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was like, this sounds a little bit off. There's something a little off about this, but it's still pretty cool, all right? And then kind of dug into it a little bit. I was like, like at first I didn't know how to feel about it. It was so like cloned Zeppelin that I was like, this is odd, but I do like it. Like I like Zeppelin. Why wouldn't I like this? It's just like if you told AI to make a new Zeppelin song, this is what it would pop out.
Bro, yeah, it's fascinating because I didn't really listen to Zeppelin, so listening to them with
open eyes.
Yes, for the last couple weeks, listening to them a ton, and then now listening to Greta Van Fleet. The first track off their first album, I was like, Robert Plant. Like, I didn't know they got some guest vocals here, and then I was like, oh, this sounds a lot like Zeppelin.
It's funny because so this band is made up of these Kiska brothers and then Danny Wagner on drums, but Josh Wagner's the vocalist for Greta Van Fleet. And he did an interview with Billboard, and they kind of didn't really beat around it. So this question on the Billboard interview, they go, let's get the Zeppelin question out of the way. Clearly you've listened to Robert Plant, but what you do is not an imitation by any means. How big of an influence was this band? This answer is shocking to me. He was definitely an influence. We all appreciate Zeppelin. Though that's the way I can get the most out of my voice. Eventually, it was that sort of thing, though it's not what I was going for. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. He gives a longer answer, but that little bit right there is a wild, I guess how else do you answer the question? But it's wild that you'll be like almost like semi-dismissive of it.
Right. Yeah.
His voice is so similar. The way he throws it up into the higher range. The way he does like the low little bit, like when he gets down into his low range, it kind of like poppy, bumpy around. Like I don't know how to describe it, but it is Robert Plant to its core.
Oh, 100%. So let me set the stage for where the debate lies, and then we can kind of go off of we start with the voice. So several of Greta Van Fleet's songs have similarities to Zeppelin songs. Zeppelin had a lot of material throughout the years.
Well, and it's funny, too, because we're making fun of Greta Van Fleet for stealing Zeppelin, and then Zeppelin stole from, like, the people before them.
100%. 100%. So Highway Tune specifically, the riff for that is very similar to the Rover. I went and listened to him this morning, actually, back to back. It's pretty similar. You know what I'm talking about?
That's wild, yeah.
And in Flower Power is another one. The fade out of the organ at the end of the song sounds similar to Your Time Is Gonna Come.
Part of his answer to that question includes a bit between the pastoral lyrics, drums, and your vocals. Flower Power does actually feel like it could be a Zeppelin 4 outtake. That's part of the answer to the question I mentioned earlier.
Excuse me if I'm coughing on the side. I had COVID the last couple days, but. Yeah, so that one for sure. And then one of the most egregious ones, if you will, Runaway Blues. It's just this interlude on one of Greta. I think it's their third album. Maybe it's
No, it's on the latest album.
Okay, it's on the fourth album. So that's extremely similar to Four Sticks, which is the one the one
4.
Bonham played with 4 drumsticks.
Yep.
And then lastly, and I'm sure there's more, but When the Curtain Falls, it sounds a little bit similar. This one I didn't really agree with. There's similarities to Ramble On.
Yeah, this is a lot heavier. That song's a lot heavier than Ramble On, especially the solo. I don't see the similarity, but I do think that song is very Zeppelin-y.
Yeah, so let's start with this, I guess. There's no denying that the songs of Greta Van Fleet sound like they could be Zeppelin songs.
Some of them. I would say a good third to a half of them at least.
Right, not all of them, but a decent amount of them. There's also no denying that Josh's voice is, in the way he sings and the way he carries his voice and his range, it's, like you said, it's Robert Plant to a T.
Yeah, like I said, that quote I read earlier is truly astounding to be semi-dismissive of the fact of how similar you are to Robert Plant. And I guess if organically this is just how you end up after, listening to whatever you listen to as children. And so that's part of this, too, is this Kiska family. They, as children, like, they were still a little bit, they're about our age. They're about our age.
A little bit younger, actually.
Yeah, I think they're a year younger than me, or at least two of them are.
Yeah.
And so they pretty much grew up listening to like 70s rock and kind of folk music, kind of prog rock, transcendental stuff. They never really got into like contemporary shit as kids. And so that's where almost all of their influence comes from on these albums, at least from a sonic standpoint, So that being said, so they listen to bands like Clapton, like Cream, like, I could probably think of a couple others, not off the top of my head, but they got that kind of vibe to it. And that's, I think the Cream side of things is where you'll hear more of the transcendental stuff.
Okay.
More of that kind of hippy-dippy shit. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not all Zeppelin Plant themed, but his voice on every song sounds like that.
Yeah, and that was a well thought out point. My point is much more surface level. Even if he does sound like Robert Plant, I guess I don't get why people get so offended or upset about it, because it's like Zeppelin hasn't been making music for 40 years. If this new band comes along and they kind of kick ass and they sound similar, like, shouldn't you just, if you like it, appreciate it, and if you don't, like, throughout time, people are going to sound similar to each other. Maybe as this similar, no, but, like, shouldn't you just kind of appreciate it?
Well,
or let it be?
And so on another note, right? Like, Jake Kiska is the guitarist. Jake Kiska spent a vast amount of time imitating and learning about Jimmy Page.
Yeah, he said, there was a quote, he said he studied him for a year.
To the point where he knew how he thought.
Okay, so, okay, go ahead.
And so that's the same thing as what we're talking about with Josh, except Jake imitating Jimmy Page would make him about the 7,000th person to try to imitate Jimmy Page.
Right.
For example, right? So Kiss. When Kiss is forming in the early 70s, it's like 1971, 1972, Zeppelin has put out Zeppelin 1 and 2, I think, at this point. And maybe Zeppelin 3 would have been out. Zeppelin 3
in 72?
It's 1971, 1972. So yeah.
Yeah, 3 was out in 72, I believe.
Yeah, so Zeppelin 1 through 3 were out already. They have the singer. They have what's his nuts with the long tongue.
Gene Simmons
and Paul Stanley, thank you. Peter Criss is coming into the fold on drums. They need a guitarist. They need like a pure guitarist. They put an ad in the paper saying they're looking for a guitarist who plays like Jimmy Page in 1972. So again, kind of to what you're saying, to imitation is kind of, what's the saying? Imitation is the sincerest way of flattery.
Yeah, sincerest form of flattery. Yeah,
that's exactly what this is. And I don't think these guys are trying to copy or rip off Zeppelin at all. But they sure as shit appreciate what they did, and if they can even come close to that kind of sound, to that power that they had, then they're happy to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's just cool as a fan. Like, if you're a big fan of Zeppelin and you don't have you're out of new Zeppelin music for the last 40 years, and this comes around, like, again, it's the some of the lyrics you don't have to think they're as good as Zeppelin. You don't have to think the music is as good as Zeppelin, but you can still appreciate it.
It's an old head take. It's an old guy take to be like, oh, these fucking Zeppelin wannabes coming in here. They can't fucking lip Zeppelin's boots.
Yeah, it really is. Like, and we kind of talked about this when we covered Zeppelin. Like, Zeppelin's music is still going to be, people are still going to be listening to it 100 years from when it was originally released, and we're kind of entering a new time period where it's going to be more and more common to listen to older music the older that we get in our lives.
Yeah, and so we'll talk about it when we get into it, but the first double EP from the Fires is very much Zeppelin. It's very, very similar. From that point on, they make a bit of a turn down the road to where they still have Zeppelin-sounding songs, some of them, but there's a lot of other songs that are off that beaten path, let's say.
Right.
And so I think if they had not deliberately chosen to stray a different course, I could understand that take a little bit. But given the fact that their 3 studio albums they're just not Zeppelin albums, I appreciate that, and that's where I have the ability to be like, yeah, the Zeppelin stuff's cool, and this other stuff's cool.
Yeah, and the point I was trying to make again, like when you and I are like in our 80s or whatever, like the chances that there's gonna be some young guy that like sings like Ed Sheeran, right? Or some young woman that sings like Beyonce
Yeah.
and has similar sounding music, like the chances are only going to go up the more time passes.
For sure. So
I don't
have no
I
problem with it, and I love their music.
Yeah,
so.
I was going to say the music's good. I don't understand the hate. Certainly I don't think it's valid. Like you said, it's just old man yelling at clouds.
Yeah, very unwarranted.
Yeah.
That being said, I've told you a few times, I love this band, dude. We're 4 albums in now. The 4th album just came out recently, Starcatcher. This band fucking rocks, dude.
And to your Foo Fighters question that you posed when we were at the concert, certainly a top 10 rock act for the day.
Yeah, this is another one that I think would be debatable with Fall Out Boy in terms of, like, could they pull more?
I mean, dude, they're playing at LCA.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying they can't, like, they can fill the same stadiums for sure. The question is just, like, in terms of pull, who pulls more, you know?
Yeah. No, that I see what you're saying. Yeah, certainly in these neck of the woods in Michigan, I'm sure they'd probably pull more.
They kill. So these guys are from Frankenmeuth, Michigan. Little kind of, I don't want to call it a podunk town, but it's in the middle of fucking nowhere.
You been there?
Everybody who's been to Michigan, everybody who lives in Michigan has been to Frankenmouth.
You're right. Stupid question.
I'm not gonna bag Frankenmouth. It's definitely cooler when you're a little kid.
Oh, I like Frankenmouth. I think it's we went as a family like once a year where we did the Zender's chicken dinner. We'd walk down the street.
Vastly overrated.
Oh, you're gonna. This is how you want to start?
Yeah, I hate that chicken is just so mid.
Dude, I'm not gonna sit here and say the chicken itself is really good. I will say the seasoning they put on the chicken and they sell in these little shakers or whatever.
Yeah,
the seasoning
nice.
is delicious. What I will say is the ambiance, the experience of the Zender's chicken dinner is where it's at. They come out. There's some of the servers are 120 years old. They're wearing this uniform from 1930, and they're bringing out 18 different plates of bread with all these homemade spreads and jellies and jams and liver and whatever you want.
It feels like I'm 2 days away from dying every time I go.
It's the experience. The food itself is, I will say, I will agree, it's probably overrated.
Being 90 years old.
Anywho, the fun part is Zender's is walking up and down the streets, and then they have like taffy, fudge shops. It's a cool place to walk around. German beer.
Well, and it's cool too, because like, you know, it's like I mentioned with the kids stuff, right? I feel like there's a lot of travel baseball tournaments up there. They have that big park. It's either at Zender's or the other one. I forget what the name of it is, but.
Yeah, they also have the world's large, or maybe it's the United States' largest Christmas store.
I think it's the world's largest Christmas store. It's open 363 or 64 days a year. It only closes on Christmas and maybe New Year's or something like that. And that's cool too to like see once or twice. I would never want to go back.
True. I have gotten dragged along every year for the last couple of years with my wife's side of the family, and going back every year is quite the pilgrimage.
They got the fucking Birch Run right around the corner, the outlets malls. The water park is cool when you're a kid.
or in college and drunk.
Or if you're 18 and hammered, that's fun. We went for a fraternity formal there and just caused an absolute scene.
We're not welcome back,
that was
to
bad.
say the least.
Yeah. But anyways, Frankenmouth. So they play a lot in Saginaw, which is a city maybe 30, 40 minutes away. They actually, like, when they tour, they always stop in Saginaw.
Yeah.
But, like, in their latest tours, they usually hit, like, smaller venues. So, like, they'll play Eastern Michigan. They'll play the Machine Shop in Flint. Shit like that. But, they're getting big, dude. They headlined a bunch of rock festivals over the last few years. Like, they're getting huge.
Have you seen them live? Because I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah, I've heard. Alex has seen them live. Maybe a couple times. Maybe once. Maybe a couple times. Their tickets are expensive as fuck.
Yeah, I got my dad some for Father's Day. I think it was Father's Day, yeah.
Yeah, no, I really do want to go see them live. And to that point, I was doing a little research, and I saw that they toured in 2017 as From the Fires is kind of touring. They're touring with the Struts at the same time, who just kicked off their first album, which is also one of my favorite bands. And
That would have been sweet.
the amount of money I'd pay to see that fucking show. Machine Shop in Flint was the only stop in Michigan I saw, but maybe Saginaw too. Fucking electric. Anyways. So yeah, these guys, small town guys, kind of grow up in this quiet, thoughtful household, let's call it. Not so in tune with pop culture, what's on TV, what's, pop music, stuff like that. And so that's how you end up with this first. Well, so first they actually had a 4-song EP, which gets expanded into the double EP, From the Fires. And From the Fires, as we've already mentioned, is very, very Zeppelin-y. There's a couple covers on there, but they do it in their own style. Just good hard blues from top to bottom, and I love it.
Yeah, no, I really like that project as well. So yeah, just we'll get into song by song here real quick. 4-time Grammy nominated, 1 win for Best Rock Album for their debut. Their name actually came from a local resident of Frankenmeuth.
Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah, so this is an actual person.
They didn't talk to her before they did it either.
Oh,
they
really?
They just did it. The woman said afterwards, the use of the variation on her name was done with her subsequent blessing. While the band is not her type, she supports the band and thinks they are very talented. Very much an nice old woman take there.
Yeah, definitely.
They're a little too loud for me, but they're good kids.
Yeah. So From the Fires comes out in 2017 and opens with Safari Song.
Yeah, Safari Song is a great way to kick off this album. It's this loud, bluesy, kind of mid-high tempo, but really high energy, just banger track here. Wildly catchy riff to open, instantly recognizable. Buzzy, kind of mid-tuned electric guitar, powerful drums, powerful bass. The vocals go really low in tune to really, really high. Josh screaming his head off, especially in the chorus. He hits these wild yells in the chorus. Awesome way to kick off this album.
Yeah, this is a great opener. It's a great song about a girl, and they named it Safari Song because the riff had a mix of what they called like jungle music and then blues. Very fitting name and a very cool song. I noted here, and I won't do this often, but I noted here this sounds like should be on one of the early Zeppelin albums for sure.
I did this bit throughout my notes as well.
Oh, okay. I tried it. I did it like maybe 4 times.
Yeah, that's probably about what I got.
Okay, all right.
You said Zeppelin 2?
Oh, I said just early Zeppelin.
Oh,
early Zeppelin.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Yeah, great way to kick off that album. Follows that up with Edge of Darkness. Also, just another hard bluesy track here, kind of mid-tempo. This sounds a little bit like what the next 3 albums are going to be. It's not quite there. It's not fully developed, but it's got elements of that progressive, transcendental rock feel to it. They just can't quite get there, but it's still a really good track. High energy vocals. The chorus, he throws his voice on the chorus on this track. The band really fills up the page here. Solo at the end, very Jimmy Page-esque. Just really, really good song here.
Lyrically too, it's similar to what a lot of their music is, where it's talking about war or land, and then obviously Greta Van Fleet too. Part of the reason that they're compared to Zeppelin so often is because a lot of their lyrics are like this, again, it's almost like this mystical,
questy,
yeah, questy.
More nature motifs, nature motifs for sure, but still in that same vibe for sure.
Yeah, and this song specifically, some of the lyrics: "All my brothers, we stand for the peace of the land. Is their meaning? I've got love in my heart. For army apart, I'm bleeding." And on the lyrics, Josh said, "It's just about the compassion that we feel for one another. I think as a global community, it's a spiritual thing to share all that we have together. Giving love is giving power." And I mean, these guys, this is kind of like their MO, right?
Yeah, exactly. Another quote from the Billboard interview. Your bio says that you're also influenced by Tchaikovsky, Robert Frost, poet, Lord of the Rings, and Apocalypse Now. How so? Josh, it's like building a universe. You need manifestos and vision, and so film and literature do that. Because you're dealing with morals and bringing philosophical questions into play. It's a mind-expansive thing. My father had a book collection. As we got older and we got into it, we were reading Nietzsche and Jean-Paul Sartre and comparing these theories and talking about stuff like that. at the dinner table.
And they're like, mind you, he's doing this interview when he's 18 or 20 or whatever, and
Something like that.
yeah. So they're reading all of this.
They're
years
reading
earlier.
high level, like.
They're reading
revolutionary philosophy.
Let me put it this way: they're reading what your philosophy teacher wants you to read.
Wild, dude. Yeah, so these guys are a little weird, for sure. A little weird. But it's to the point you made, it's a great way of building a story.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the next song is Flower Power, which we already talked about briefly. But yeah, this song kind of spawned out of Jake having a random riff on the guitar, and then Josh came out, and they were just kind of jamming. He started humming and just kind of thinking of the lyrics and everything. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like this song too. In caps, very, very Zeppelin-y. I don't know exactly where I'd put this. This is maybe the Zeppelin 3 outtake or something. Josh said Zeppelin 4, whatever. Very, very Zeppelin-y.
I had also noted that.
But it's got a little bit of a hippie vibe to it. That's why I think it's more Zeppelin 3 than Zeppelin 4, but kind of slower acoustic track, really good energy. Josh going up and down in his level, up and down in his range. It's good. It's a good song.
Also Zeppelin in the fact in the back half of Zeppelin where they would just start jamming and then like some of these songs would come together.
Yeah,
and it's cool that they kind of emulate that as well.
100%.
So next up is A Change Is Gonna Come, which is a cover of a Sam Cooke song.
Yeah, cover of Sam Cooke song. And this is less bluesy. This is, I would say, maybe the least Zeppelin-y track on the album. And obviously it's cover, so you get it. But this gives me like soul music vibe almost. It's very soulful. Kind of mid-tempo, good energy. Josh is on center stage here again. There is one track in this entire catalog where I felt like Josh got drowned out, but it's not this one. He takes full center stage here. Keyboard is really strong on this track. Backup vocals from the rest of the band kicking in, making something good out of it. Really good track here.
Yeah, cool song, cool message about optimism through adversity. Definitely worth checking out. Next up, arguably the most popular song, Highway Tune.
Yeah, and I don't think that's justified, but it is what it is, right? Especially given it's on their first album, so I get it. But anyhow, high tempo, high energy bluesy track, very Zeppelin 4. This could fit right. This could be the 9th song on Zeppelin 4.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
High range on vocals, thick mid-tuned guitar. Regardless of what I've said now, really cool song.
Yeah, so this was revealed in an interview. This is actually the first song the band had ever written together, which is really cool. The highway is a metaphor for love, and this kind of reminded me of that one Zeppelin song where they use like the auto parts as like sexual innuendos.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I think it was on Physical Graffiti.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so no stopping on the highway, girl, because I want to burn my gas. There's one girl that I know I'm never gonna pass, and yeah, it's just the riff for this was actually written in 2010 too. So
another super catchy, instantly recognizable riff too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really like this song. It's I think their most streamed song.
No, 100%. Any listen of Greta Van Fleet, this will be one of the first few songs.
100%. So the next song, which again, I'm trying not to do this, but this sounds like the title for the song sounds like it'd be a Zeppelin song too. Meet on the Ledge. This was another cover. This was actually written by Richard Thompson.
Yeah, Fairpoint Convention's Meet on the Ledge.
Yeah,
Richard Thompson, part of Fairpoint Convention. I get back to my notes here. Folky, kind of trippy feel, mid-tempo, mid-high energy, a lot more nature references here. This is riddled with nature references. The chorus on this song fucking rocks. It's just this like cool kind of feel, sing-along feel to it. Great energy from Josh on the mic again here. Great job getting into the high and low range. The keyboard, it's not prominent, but it pops in at perfect times to accentuate. That's actually something they do a lot, is the keyboard is used but predominantly to accentuate Josh's vocals. It does a fantastic job of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just is a really cool song, too.
Yeah, cool cover, song about following your dreams, and to your point of nature references, you know, the way is up along the road, the air is growing thin, too many friends who tried, blown off this mountain with the wind. So yeah, another good song, and
really solid track.
Yeah, keep the EP going, or double EP going.
Right. 2 more to go here. Talk on the Street up next. This is an original track. I fucking love this song too. Fire. This is just like classic 70s hard rock to me, though. This isn't Zeppelin. This is just classic hard rock. Up-tempo, high energy, fun vibe here. Josh kills the vocals again. Same thing I said already. And I'm going to say it again and again and again. This is the first one where he doesn't do it a lot, but when he does it, it's noticeable. Josh sounds a little angry. Just there's a bit of fuck it on this vibe. Other than that, the guitar work here is kind of fucking cool. They like buzz the guitar a little bit. It's really, like I said, just classic 60s, 70s guitar feel to it. Powerful drums here. Love this track.
And to the point of the anger, people were saying online the song is about the exchange of power between generations and like the hope that all generations kind of work together. I didn't see that as much per se in the lyrics, but that would kind of back up why there's a little bit more anger in his voice. So
yeah, and I think he's got a couple different kinds of yells. He's got like those loud, almost like yodely yells, and then he's got these like grovelly, not angry, but pissed off kind of fuck it yells.
Yeah,
and that's what you're getting here.
Yep, and this closes out the double EP with Black Smoke Rising. Probably one of my favorite riffs. This is just outstanding.
Yeah, they do a lot of really cool things on this track. But speak of the guitar, I mean, thick chords, kind of mid-tune, but it's so fucking cool, really bluesy. Drums are powerful again here. Upbeat, but kind of gives you this feel of almost like fucking around, camping with friends, just hanging out, being out in nature, which is something I feel like they do a lot. They talk about doing that as part of the writing process for the next album.
Yeah, did they record in Branair?
One more time? I'm not even going to try it the way my voice is today. Probably lose my vocals entirely.
I guarantee someone comments like, they didn't record there. Zeppelin recorded there.
Oh, dude. I got a comment on TikTok on one of the Zeppelin posts. And the guy it was on the one for Fool in the Rain.
Oh, yeah.
I made a comment that it was like, not necessarily what you would expect from Zeppelin, but da-da-da-da-da-da. And the guy comments back like in all caps, like, what are you talking about? So like contradictory. This is exactly what I think about when I think of Zeppelin.
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks about with Zeppelin is Fool in the Rain.
I just I hit him back with a couple of laughing emojis and moved on with my day.
Yeah, going back to Black Smoke Rising, some of the lyrics, and the black smoke rises from the fires we've been told. It's a new age crisis, and we will stand up in the cold. And Josh said on the lyrics for this song, they're meant to be a reflection of the lessons of history and that man does not always learn from the lessons of history.
And that's a really cool section you just mentioned right there, because that line in the Black Smoke Rising, his voice is super high. And on the back half of that line, his voice, he really waves it down and down and down, but not like straight down, like wobbly down. It's really cool.
Yeah.